and welcome to PBM Investments review of the stock market for today. Here we are. Now, we're just going to go on a few news. Firstly, last week, the biggest movers in the US were L Brands. That was up 6.13%. HP was also up 5.18%. Egg Resources was down 7.56% on the week. And Perrigo was down as well, 5.88% on the week. The European biggest movers over the same week was Grifols, which was down 5.02%. That's actually a pharmaceuticals company, which at the moment they're doing, or many of them are doing quite well because of the COVID-19 vaccines and the various orders around the world. But that one went down slightly. And finally, the UK biggest movers. Rightmove was down 6.77%. Anglo-American was also down 6.13%. British Land was also down 5.77%. Scottish Mortgage Investments was also down 5.10%. Now, what I'm looking to do for the rest of this particular video is just talk to you about various news that I'm just thinking about, that I'm musing about trading. As many of you are all well aware, I do a lot of spread betting using Plus 500 and IG Index. The spread betting is tax-free. Feel free to use any other instruments like CFDs, options, even buying shares or stocks. Whatever helps you get to the road to $1 million, basically. Without further ado, let's talk about some of the companies and the news that I've seen over the weekend that I think will be of interest to many of you. Basically, copper has breached $9,000 a ton. Basically, what that means is that copper is actually one of the most used materials across the world for semiconductors, microchips, copper wiring for households, flats, things of that nature. Now, it's been going up and up and up, as many of you who trade commodities were well aware. Maybe some of you aren't aware that the reasons that they feel that it's been going up and up is because the Shanghai Stock Exchange has not reported some futures that have not been cashed in, basically. And that has driven the price up, and they assume, the brokers in a lot of these brokerage is across the world, believe that the copper is going to continue to go up. Now, I had a look on Plus 500, my actual demo account, because I'm getting back into this. I'm not too sure whether or not it's something that I want to purchase. I'm not too sure if it's going to continue to go up, and I don't even know where it's going up, because this is the biggest high since 2011. And I'm not too sure if it's going to go down, so I'm just keeping an eye on it. And sometimes you just got to do that. You just got to keep an eye on these movements to see where they're going to go. There's no real need to push forward and to back it or buy into it or short it. All I would say with copper is just keep an eye on it, because it could go up to 10,000 or it could go down to its not natural high, which is around 7,000, 7,500. We'll see. The next one is speaking of semiconductors and copper, there is been a shortage of semiconductors. And there's various reasons for that. Semiconductors are the main ingredients for microchips. So microchips in mobile phones, in computers, in your fridges, your TVs, anything that needs any sort of internet connection or connection to any sort of server. Cars, for example, any new cars that need these kind of updates need semiconductors. Now, there's various reasons why there is a bit of a shortage. The biggest thing I could say to you is that Brexit is making things difficult for the UK government to come up with deals to enable it. But across the world, there's been a shortage. One of the major reasons is COVID. If we're talking about worldwide reasons as to why there's a shortage of semiconductors across the planet, because of the Trump and Chinese administration before he left, Trump, the US and China had issues with Huawei, and part of the ban that US imposed on Huawei was that American companies could not sell semiconductors or facilitating giving that mobile phone company or any Chinese telecommunication companies those types of materials that they need to make phones, make telecoms, that type of thing. So, in retaliation, what did China do? They stockpile their actual semiconductors, so they have now become the leading operator in that. And therefore, what I would do, and what I've been doing, is looking at all the semiconductor companies, especially Chinese ones, because over the course of this year, if there continues to be friction between China and the rest of the world, especially US, these materials and these semiconductors and these companies, prices are going to continue to rise because the demand that we as human beings all have, the need to be connected, the need to keep up to date, various countries, various companies, will force prices up, in my opinion, and also make it so that governments will have to start talking to each other. But before then, companies, because companies have more money and have more interest in literally bridging the gap to and have the demand, companies like Apple, Amazon, the largest tech companies you can think of, from Tesla, all need these semiconductor companies to be able to facilitate making their own wares, their own hardware, their own software. So before long, just keep an eye out on these companies. There is a list that I've made, but there's like 15 UK ones, about 60 US ones, and about 20 Chinese ones as well. So I'm not going to bore you with listing all the ones that I looked at. I'm just going to narrow down the list, and over the course of this month and probably this year, I'll talk to you about the various companies that I'm trading on, probably either buying shares in or spread betting. You can do either one. I mean, if you have enough money, you could even do an option position, because I think semiconductors, the whole market, is going to continue to go up throughout the year, because I can't see, there's always going to be a demand, but if the shortage continues to be there, money's going to keep going up. In UK news, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, is going to, on Wednesday, announce the budget for the year. That's going to obviously have a massive impact, not just in the UK, but across the world, because this is going to be a tough budget, because it's going to talk about probably tax rises. And because the interest rates is quite low, he's probably going to spend in the short term just to facilitate things like furlough, make sure that people get money, and then they're not destitute on the streets. But in the long term, we're going to have to pay this back, and we're going to have taxes to raise it, because we are in the biggest deficit probably ever in this country. So he's got to figure out that. So on Wednesday, have an eye on BBC News, on Parliament, and figure out what he's going to be implementing to facilitate what Boris Johnson was saying last week about how we're going to be going from a step-by-step process from now until June, where we relax and get back to some semblance of normality. Others, last two bits of news. Moderna. Probably people are well aware that Moderna, a pharmaceutical company that have been doing the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, last year and the year before, they were operating at a loss. And this year, they projected, this weekend, they projected that they're going to make $18.9 billion based solely on the COVID vaccine. So that's various countries ordering this vaccine from Moderna. So pharmaceutical companies like Moderna are going to do well, hopefully this year, because every country needs some sort of vaccine. Everyone's going to have to take it eventually. And then obviously we've got various variants, and they're going to have to probably continue to do various vaccines and replicate it and change it just to, well, keep up with demand. And lastly, Ocado. Ocado is the delivery service that many of us have been using since even before pandemic, many years ago. A lot of people didn't catch on and didn't utilize it, but during the pandemic, it has seen its profits rise. For those of you that aren't aware, it's a delivery service. So when you order things on Morrison's, Asda, things like that, they actually deliver it to your house, so you don't have to leave. They have seen over the last 5 years a steady increase in revenues. The important thing to be aware of is they normally operate down south, so in London, but what they're looking to do over the course of this year is expand north. So they're looking to go into places like Birmingham, into Yorkshire, into Newcastle, and possibly even into Scotland as well. So they're doing local warehouse automated hubs whereby they can literally be in more places and facilitate more places as well, more households across the UK. Now that's going to be interesting because their share price should rise as more and more people, even though lockdown is going to be ending, I think it's going to be a common trend that more and more people are going to use the likes of Ocado to have home delivery so they don't have to go out and interact with people as much. So that is definitely one to watch. Just to recap, look at Ocado, Moderna, and copper. Them are the three things that I would suggest you look at for the coming weeks, and obviously the Chancellor of Exchequer's announcement and whatever he actually has to say on the economy and the budget moving forward. And also, lastly, I am set a target. I don't mind saying it right now. The target is to make $1 million for this year, solely from the work that I've been doing, and also from spread betting and shares as well. So I'm trying to keep myself honest by announcing it and putting it out there. I'm just going to keep you updated with the progress and see if we can make a bit of money together. Until next time, you take care. I'll be back hopefully either tomorrow or later on in the week with another video, probably after the Chancellor has come back with the budget and seen how it maybe affects the markets. Take care, all the best, and see you next time. Bye.